The Joe Rogan Experience.
Now we've gotten far enough that it's easier for me to talk about these things. All right. My model says this is a virtual reality computed by consciousness, right? And we're a piece of consciousness. Now, given that, the big thing that is in favor of aliens existing, let's just talk about aliens existing, is that there's trillions of suns out there, and there are bound to be some of them that are sort of like this, because why would this be one unique thing and all of that stuff? And if it happened here, then it's going to happen someplace else. You know, the probability is such. All right, but now look at my model's view of that. That big universe is a virtual. It's just computed. If it's just computed, when we look out at all those little stars that are just little dots of light, that's what's being computed to us. It's a dot of light, nothing more. It's just, we look out there, we look away, we go to sleep. We're not getting that data anymore. It's gone. It's just like, No Man's Sky started this idea that you only compute what a player's looking at.
Right.
Well, that's the way it works. That's efficient, much more efficient. So they're going to compute what somebody's looking at. When I look up there at the sky, I'll see all these little dots of light. When I close my eyes, it's not in my data stream anymore. All right. So the next question is, how many seats does this larger consciousness system need in this entropy reduction simulator? Okay. Now, we reduce our entropy by the quality of the choices we make. Okay. Now, how many seats does it need? Well, you figure if there's more seats, then there's more people who are reducing their entropy, and the system is growing. And more seats, but every seat costs a price. The system has to put a data line to that and has to calculate all those interactions and how they affect other people and so on. So there's a price. Now, at some point, like all systems, this is true of all self-changing systems, is that there's a sweet point. Okay, I add another player, better. Add another player, better. Add another player, not much better. Add another player, just a teeny bit better. Add another player, more expensive. So it's the gain to cost. Somewhere, as you scale systems up, you'll get a cost to, how much does it cost, and how much do you have to how much you get out of it? What's the value? So eventually, we got 9 billion people here. Well, if I add another person, is that going to help the larger conscious system evolve any more quickly? Probably not. There's 1 billion of us. So what does that then imply? If that's the case, then this is it. Earth. We are the only people. Because, and you say, oh, what a waste. It's no waste. Those are just bits. A single bit that tells you how bright it is and where it's located. 4 bits. 3 positions, 1 of intensity, and that's it. Maybe a couple other for the Doppler effect, and it's moving and it's accelerating and so on, but that's all you get. It's not there, and when daylight comes, it doesn't have to compute any of it. When a guy gets out his telescope, it has to compute what he sees. Random draw, that's what he sees. Good. Stop doing it. Turned off his telescope, nobody's looking at that anymore. Then you don't have to compute it anymore. So it's not a big waste of anything. It's a virtual reality. It only computes what's functional.
Okay.
And it only needs so many seats. Now, if you had another planet someplace in this the whole universe is its game. The game is the universe, not just our solar system. If you wanted another planet, and it also had 9 billion people, and another one, and it had 9 billion people like us, now you've got 27 billion people. Is that good? Or is that, if you pass that sweet point, it seems to me there really isn't a lot of use for many more. Only so many individuated units of consciousness optimize the system growing.
But how
and
can we
learning.
possibly know what that number is? And why would we discount the idea that if it's happening here, then it's beneficial and that we're on a path, that it can't be happening in infinite spots in the universe?
Well, because
simultaneously.
Because that takes infinite resources.
But doesn't the universe have infinite resources? If it has hundreds of billions of galaxies, black holes bigger than our entire solar system, all this observed.
Right. That's all observed.
But are we looking at it on a limited number of data points? Are we looking at a limited number of possibilities?
Yeah, no, that's not the point. The point is it's all virtual. It's all in the virtual.
So you're of the opinion that all these physical things are somehow or another virtual. Consciousness is the thing that creates all of this. We're going through a virtual experience through consciousness. We're an avatar of consciousness, but we're the only avatars of consciousness, and there's not avatars of consciousness that exist on other planets?
Well, there may be. I'm not saying that's not a possibility. I'm just saying if you look at this, the cost-to-benefit curve, any system that's a self-changing system is going to have a sweet point where scaling up anymore costs more than the benefit. And I see 9 billion people here, adding a couple of more who are struggling like the rest of humanity, trying to become love and acting very poorly, then I don't see that it's necessary. I see that maybe the cost-benefit curve says you don't need any more than that. If you scale, it becomes more work than it is benefit. You've got individuated units of consciousness all making choices, learning from those choices to become love. Okay, and that floats the whole, because as each choice is a good choice, then the entropy lowers a little bit, but because that consciousness is a part of the system, the whole system's entropy is lowered a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we're the larger conscious system's, one of its ways of lowering its own entropy is through us. So we lower entropy, it lowers the entropy of the system. And it has to compute a whole lot of stuff for 9 billion people. It's a big game. It's a big multiplayer game. Somewhere along the line, all systems like that have a curve where if you expand it anymore, the cost of expanding it is more expensive than the result that you get back, which is the rate of entropy reduction.
Right, but are we sure? Because you're adding things to this theory all the time.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure of that. I'm not saying that is a truth. I'm just saying that is something to consider.
I understand what you're saying.
It could be that there are other civilizations on other planets, and that the system 9 billion is just a start. You know, it can handle a lot more of that, and it is.
Or maybe it's not more numbers even. Maybe it's just a different way of evolving. Maybe they evolved with different problems and challenges.
Yes, that's true. But what I have found is that it's taken care of that, because that would be a real valuable thing to do. It's taken care of that with multiple virtual realities. Our virtual reality isn't the only virtual reality. I've been to probably a little more than a dozen different virtual realities. Actually, I've been to hundreds of the virtual realities. When you die, you end up in a virtual reality called the transition reality. You know, there's lots of virtual realities. When you dream, that's a virtual reality.
Right.
It's another virtual reality. But those don't have a tight rule set that defines every energetic exchange.
Right.
Ours does, and that's what makes ours look physical.
Well, it's one of the most bizarre things about being a person is that we do have this very unusual experience when we sleep.
Yeah.
Where we have these realities.
That's just another reality frame.
And in the moment, it is a reality.
Absolutely.
While you're in the heart of a dream, as absurd as that dream may be, that moment, it's real.
It is no more or less real than this reality.
Than the conscious experience you feel in the waking life.
Exactly. It's just different. It's a different data stream, different
how does
reality.
Aliens figure into this?
Okay.
And humans' experiences with aliens.
Right. So the way I see that is that I'm not saying it has to be that way. I don't know the carrying capacity of the system. I'm just saying that this is a possibility, that it has a possibility to be considered, and it solves the Fermi paradox. I would never say, oh, this is the truth, this is the way it is. I don't know.
I understand.
But it is something to consider, because it's a virtual reality, that you can get past, you get this curve where adding more IUOCs, individuated units of consciousness, costs more in the overhead of running the virtual reality than it actually builds the rate at which the system is lowering its entropy, is evolving. And if you get to that point, then the system doesn't want any more seats because it just costs more and you don't get much back for it. So that's a thing to deal with. Now, I don't know where that curve is, and I don't know whether we're there yet or not, but it's a possibility. So the alien thing. So that would say, if you look at that and you would say, well, 9 billion is probably enough seats. If. Now that's just an if. If that's the case, then we're alone. We don't have that. Or maybe there's one or two other, but that's enough seats. Another 9 billion maybe be to capacity. So you get to that point, and then, let's see, where am I going with this? Then you say, well, what about all the experience people have with aliens? And, they interact with them. Where's all that coming from? They get pieces of ships. They get, people have seen things. I think all those people are telling the truth. I don't think those people are making it up. There may be a few that, people see all kinds of things. There may be a few of those that are a little psychotic, making stuff up. But for the most part, I think those people are telling you exactly what they saw and what they connected with. And, something lands in their yard and they find indentations and burn spots in the grass and all that. This is a virtual reality. Reality is just interpretation of a data stream. If the consciousness system would want to put an alien and a spacecraft in your front yard and burn some grass and leave indentations, it's trivial to do that. Okay? It can do that. I remember my son was in Age of Empires, and he had a cheat. And he put in the cheat, and he got a Mercedes-Benz with a nuclear. You're grinning. You've probably done it too.
No, I haven't played the game.
He got a Mercedes-Benz with a nuclear weapons launcher in it. And he could wipe out everybody else on a map just pushing a button. So cheats, it's a virtual reality. You can do stuff like that. Now, why would the system do that? Well, the system does a lot of things to help wake us up, to help us see a bigger picture so we're not just stuck in this mindset of everything's random and nothing matters. This kind of bad ethic that we have. We just get stuck in that. So it does things to wake us up. Individuals, and you're probably one of them, maybe not, but you probably are. Many people have had paranormal experiences where they just knew something. In a dream, they saw something that happened, and it did happen. Precognitive, or they got a message from somebody. Oh, mom's looking for me. She's worried, and you call home and sure enough, she's worried about you. You get these things that are paranormal. And those things are given to you to help you see that reality is bigger than what you thought. It's got more to it. It opens your mind to see more possibilities, that kind of stuff. And it's just a mind opener. Just crack the mind open a little bit that there's more to the way the world works than we thought.
Is it possible that aliens, if we're existing in a virtual reality, and if consciousness is working its way towards becoming better, and we're a part of a process, is it possible that there is consciousness that is more evolved and further down the line that coexists with us, and that's what we're experiencing? If we exist at the same time, at one point in time, Homo sapiens existed at the same time as Neanderthals and Denisovans and all these other human-type species that didn't make it. Is it possible that we're existing simultaneously with a more highly evolved version of us?
On other planets or
right here?
Right here.
Interdimensionally, whatever. Why define it? Yeah. Whatever these people are experiencing when they're experiencing entities, when they're experiencing communication, telepathic communication with things that are very different from them. Is it possible that what these things are is consciousness evolved past where we are now, but also on a process?
Yeah, I would say in a general way, I'd say yes to that. And I'd say yes to it maybe in a little different context than what you mean. I'm not sure. But I would say yes to that. There are people here who have bigger pictures, who connect with things that other people don't. Mostly they're the people who have developed their intuitive side. And I think that a lot of the UFO sightings, even the physical, the stuff that's very physical, that these are people who are supposed to be waking up the rest of us. They tell their stories. When they tell their stories of what they experienced, another million people who hear that starts to crack their mind open a little bit. So yes, there are people here who are more receptive, more able to communicate with them